Hey, what's up guys? Auto Fanatic. So this video is going to primarily be for anybody that's doing a restoration and wants to preserve suspension components on their project car. No matter what they're working on, I get a lot of emails from you guys for the last few years since I started the Auto Fanatic channel, because a lot of you guys know car restoration is a big part of what I do for a living, and I'm all about the details. I'm super detail oriented, and I'm going to share with you guys a quick tip today on how to preserve cast suspension components. Whether you get it out of the box, I suggest you do this as soon as you go ahead, before you do any kind of replacement of ball joints, outer tie rods, inner tie rods, anything for the suspension. If you're doing a restoration and you're going to send out your control arms to get powder coated, or you're going to paint them at a body shop, this is my little tip that I'm going to show you guys today. So I'm working on the Ferrari 355 still, and I'm doing a lot of suspension detail all over the bottom of the car. Any nut, screw, or washer that had corrosion has been replaced. Bolts that had the galvanized finish nicked off from over the years has also been re-galvanized. And the one thing that's driving me nuts in the car, especially on the front of the car, are the upper and lower ball joints. Now, when you look at this here, these ball joints, of course, are cast iron, and then they have the machined insert with a zinc CAD plated top plate. Now, what happens is the ball joints on the car are perfectly fine. There's no issues mechanically. It's aesthetically, they're all rusted out, and what happens is, over the years, and most likely I know for a fact, acid wheel cleaners have been sprayed onto this car, causing all this premature corrosion. So what happens is it sits into the plating, it starts to bubble up, rust, and you get all crustiness. It's totally nasty. Now, it doesn't make sense to try to restore that, because if you're going to pull this off the car, you could dip it into a Vaporust or any of those rust solutions. You can leave it in there for months, and it's still never going to come out perfect, and you're still never going to replicate the plating. So I just got brand new ball joints straight from Italy. These ball joints are very expensive. This is not a cheap part, that comes from overseas for like 20 bucks. These upper and lower ball joints were almost $400. These are OEM quality ball joints. Now, this one here is already prepared, and I just want to show you guys quick. So I use my 3M auto body tape, and I wrap around the boot. Okay, so if you look carefully, this is the one without the boot, and you have a little bit of a recess here where the snap ring is applied. And then I take a plastic zip tie and I kind of compress it. So this is because we don't want to get any of the product onto the rubber boot and, of course, the stud. Now, something that I've showed you guys in the past in other videos is a product called RPM, Rust Prevention Magic. Now, what this is a petroleum-based wax that you have to heat up the substrate. You can heat this up with a MAP gas torch, propane torch, or a heat gun, and then you brush it on and it soaks into the pores. Now, this is a really good solution, and this is good if you're doing a concourse type restoration and you're not going to drive the car a lot, because I found that if you're going to drive the car a lot, wash the car and get it exposed to moisture, this is just going to have to be applied several times a year, and then there's going to be times where you're going to have to scuff up and get some of the flash rust off the component, and it just drives me crazy as well. So the little trick that I'm going to show you guys today, and we're going to be using a 2K semi-matte clear coat. So these are really convenient because they come in an aerosol can. Now, I have clear coat, but it's gloss clear coat. I don't have matte, and I don't have flat clear coat, and I don't have any of that stuff in my house. I'd have to go over to the shop to do that. But on something small like this, this is a great solution. I'm going to post vendors and links where you can buy this direct online. This can is about 25 bucks. So what I suggest you do, if you're planning out a project, make sure you have all your components prepped and ready, and maximize the yield out of this can. So it's about 25 bucks. You don't want to just shoot one part, because what's going to happen is when you activate the can, and I'm going to show you guys the activation process as well, this can is going to kick, which means the activator and the base is going to harden, and this can on your shelf is probably only going to last a couple of days. I've noticed, depending on climatic conditions, when I keep it into my cabinets on the wall, I can get up to about 5 days out of this, just in case you want to go back and do any touch-ups or whatever. Before we get started, have nitro gloves. I'm wearing my full body paint suit, and I'm also going to be wearing my full face 3M respirator. You don't want to mess around with any kind of auto body chemicals or supplies. This has isocyanates in it, and it's very, very dangerous to get into your mucous membranes or anywhere on your body. So you want to protect yourself and always practice good safety. So I'm just going to show you guys real quick, and we're going to get started prepping this up. All right, so the first step I usually like to do when I'm prepping new cast parts, even though they're out of the box, they have manufacturing oils that are on them in the bag to prevent flash rust while this sits on the shelf. So I just take a little red Scotch-Brite and I cut it into these little squares, and we're going to be using Sherwin-Williams. This is just a degreaser surface prep. I call it Prepzol. It's a solvent-based product, and I just made a little bit of a mess, but you're not supposed to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cloth and I'm just going to go over everything to make sure that this gets deep cleaned into the pores, and it's also going to scarify some of the plating, because that's what we want. We want to have the 2K matte clear coat soak in and kind of do its job of protecting this component year after year. Because what's going to happen is if you don't do this now and you try to do it when it's in the car, you're going to have a really hard time doing it. So that's pretty much it. And then we're going to just take a lint-free shop towel and we're going to dry it off good. And you can see there, you see some of the residue and debris that's coming off. Those are some of the manufacturing oils that they put. And also, if anybody's asking, this process is not going to work on brake rotors. So I did a video recently on the gun bluing technique for brake rotor rust, and I think that makes a little bit more sense. It's not as effective cosmetically as what I'm going to show you here on these cast parts, but that's pretty much it. So now this part is prepped. I'm going to mask it up, and we're going to just loop around the boot to protect the boot, because these are brand new, and we don't want to have the clear coat get on there, because what will end up happening when you get clear coat on rubber parts, it actually could degrade and cause it to become brittle, and that's the last thing we want, is a ball joint or a CV boot or anything to crack while you're servicing the car. So then we just take the little plastic tie like I got here, and this is just going to ensure a nice tight seal. I'll pull it back here just like that. And like I said, a lot of you guys out there restoring a bunch of different cars, and you guys always email me since I started the Auto Fanatic channel, and I love talking to you guys and sharing advice and project tips, and this is stuff that I found that just works. I've restored suspension components on cars in the last 12 years using this method, with prepping it, quenching it with the MAP gas torch, and using a good 2K high quality clear coat, giving it a couple of good quick mists. And also, to follow up with it, you can spray or dilute some Cosmoline and brush it over the components for long-term prevention if you start seeing any kind of degradation from stone chips or anything hitting the stuff over time. So this is all prepped, ready to go. We're going to get it on the rack, but before we do that, I'm going to show you how to activate the 2K in the spray can. And these are great. So it gives you a little red pop top that is locked into the top. And if you look at the bottom of the can, there's a pin. So what you do is you take this button and you're going to go one shot. You don't want to do it 10 times. You want to just go firmly at until you hear it pop, okay? You probably heard that on camera, so it popped once. Now we're going to take this out, and I usually discard these, so this indicates that this can is activated. So you're just going to shake this. I usually like to shake it between 2 to 3 minutes. You can hear the mixing bowl in there, so there's a bladder in the can that has the activating hardener that's going to activate with the clear coat, and that's what's going to give it its strength. And that's what differs between a 2K component and a simple 1K sprayable lacquer clear coat, which is just not durable and it does not work as good. So I'm going to shake this up. We're going to go outside and we're going to get these parts shot in a couple of minutes. All right, guys, as you just saw, I just quenched any moisture that was in the parts really quickly. So you take the MAP gas torch, you whip it around real quick. You don't want to get too close. You don't want to set your tape on fire. You don't want to melt your boot. So just use common sense and do it exactly like I told you. So I got some stainless steel hooks, and the rack that I'm using is a very simple portable folding clothing rack that you can get at Bed Bath & Beyond for 30 bucks. It works outstanding. I'll show you guys here. So if you guys are working on a lot of parts, it has extensions to come out on both ends. You can hang your parts safely. It's got nice casters. Then when you're done with your projects, you could collapse it, fold it up, and put it in a closet. So this is definitely great, and I'll put a link to this as well. You can pick these up on Amazon or Bed Bath & Beyond. And if your wife has a 20% coupon, this thing is like 30 bucks. So this is after the final wet coat, and it goes on wet, but it dries satin. So you guys can see that there. This one's starting to kick already, and that's how it goes. So I'm just gonna let this stuff dry out on the rack. All right, guys, so we're all finished. I waited about a week for these to fully cure, air dry, and hang on the rack, just because, you know, putting the ball joints and stuff like this in this car is gonna be a little bit of a tedious task, doing it at home and doing it on the floor. So I just wanna show you guys, here's some close-ups of what was in the car. You can see how rusted, badly corroded, and disgusting they looked. And then here are some shots of the brand new parts that were properly prepped, like I showed you in this video, and clear coated with 2K matte clear coat. So thanks for watching this video. This is just something new for anybody out there that's doing any kind of restoration work, no matter what kind of car you have. If you want to try to preserve suspension components, whether it's cast aluminum, cast iron, CAD plating, or zinc plating, just follow the steps of this video, prep the surface well, give it a couple of light mist coats of a 2K clear coat, and carefully assemble your car, and it's going to look fantastic for years to come. So like I said, thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to the Auto Fanatic channel. The next video is going to be on U-POL Raptors. So you guys out there that have 4x4s and use U-POL Raptor, I'm going to show you guys a cool video on different techniques on how to achieve different finishes. So I'll see you guys soon, and thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. Thank you.